We are going to get the air turned down a little bit. I know it's a little warm. And I am actually really excited to introduce you to Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith is a lawyer from Orlando who is in charge of educational law at her law firm in Orlando. And this is her 4th or 5th time coming to Corbett Prep to talk to students, then teachers, then parents about online behavior and safety. Raise your hand if you go online. Everybody, right? So hands down. If it's for school assignments, if it's to text with friends, if it's social media, whatever it is, it's really important that you guys know some of the rules and some of the best behaviors associated with having you online. So when things are this important, we bring in the professionals. So we brought in Mrs. Smith to talk to you about this today. I am going to mention that some of these topics might be a little uncomfortable at times, and I want you to be able to deal with all of these things with the most maturity. And I'm really looking at my 7th and 8th graders to make sure that you guys handle yourselves appropriately, okay, and are great role models. I'm going to turn this over to Mrs. Smith. Can we get a big round of applause and a welcome to Mrs. Smith? Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on your campus today. So I always like to start out by explaining, why is a lawyer talking to you about social media? Definitely not because I consider myself a social media expert, although I try. I have 2 older teens, young adults myself, and so, I'm a fan of TikTok. But if I would say I'm an expert at anything, it would be school discipline. So I work with schools all around the state, a few schools even out of state, and I am constantly working with them whenever they are considering a disciplinary action, so suspension or expulsion. Because when you go to a private school, your parents signed a contract for you to be here. So when you attend a private school, if there's a disciplinary action and they're considering suspension or expulsion, that means there's a contract at issue. So that's where I come in. So I know the reason that students get in trouble at school. I know the reason that enrollment ends. Why you might have to transfer to another school, a public school, or for a virtual school. Why you would have to report a suspension or an expulsion on a college application. And I would say in the last 10 years, social media is very often involved. Either there's a violation of a school social media policy, or the evidence behind the disciplinary matter, it's all on social media. It's in a group text thread. It's in a Snapchat group. It's in, an Instagram account that's been created to make fun of someone. So many years ago, the schools that I work with said, hey, Lori, would you go and talk to the students? Would you share this information with them? So that's what today is about. It is about giving you information. I'm just here to educate you. I'm going to show you examples. We're going to look at other teens who have made mistakes, not to make fun of them, but to learn from their mistakes, okay? And we're going to talk about what you can do to avoid making those mistakes. I am not, you're never going to hear me say that social media is bad. To the contrary, there are so many positive things about social media. Your generation, like no generation before you, has the power to use social media to create a brand for yourself. Why in the world would you need to create a brand for yourself? Well, in a few years, you'll be trying to sell yourself to colleges, to scholarship organizations, internship programs, maybe to athletic recruiters if you play a sport. And you should be using social media to create that living, breathing resume, application, brand for yourself, to say, this is who I am. This is what's great about me. This is why you should offer me that spot in your class, roster spot on that athletic team, scholarship, internship. And we're going to look at some examples of that too. So let's talk about first where middle school students allegedly spend their time. This is some of the latest research that has been done by the Social Institute. So you guys can tell me if you agree with this. They say that a middle school population, their #1 favorite platform is YouTube. Anybody agree with that? Anybody would say YouTube's their go-to? Anybody actually have a YouTube channel where they stream content? Okay. Number 2 is Snapchat. Any Snapchat users? Okay. The research says that older teens, like 8th, 9th, and 10th graders, are actually preferring Snapchat over TikTok these days because of the ad content. So Instagram comes in number 3. Any Instagram users? Did you guys see the new Instagram teen accounts that have been created? That was big news in the last 2 weeks. So now there'll be some changes. If you have an Instagram account, you might be getting an invitation from your parents to set up your account as a teen account, and that will carry some protections. And then TikTok. How many people would say TikTok is their go-to? Yeah, I would say that probably older teens like TikTok, and although there is that criticism of all that ad content, which I agree with, like that's kind of annoying, all those ads. Be Real, anybody still using Be Real? Got a couple loyal Be Real users. Okay, that's pretty much the same. Every school I've spoken at, there's like 3 people on Be Real. It definitely seems to be losing popularity. What about Roblox? Any Roblox users? So let me ask you this. Would you be surprised to know that cybersecurity experts say it is the most dangerous place to be online? So aside from Roblox, raise your hand if you consider yourself a gamer. If you use gaming sites. Okay. So you guys are pretty consistent with the populations that I speak to. So we're going to be talking about the most common mistakes I see middle schoolers make. And number 1 is always online challenges. Now years ago, these online challenges used to originate on YouTube. Now they usually tend to originate on TikTok and then also at the same time on YouTube. Sometimes they're silly, sometimes people get hurt doing them. The one that has been circulating for the past couple years and is like kind of died off and then came back this summer has law enforcement, parents, and schools probably more concerned than ever, and it's the door kicking challenge. So this is kind of how it happens. This is a Ring video camera, and as you can see, he's going up, he's kicking the door, he runs away. Here, same thing, they're filming, watch the door. You can see the door actually pops open. Now, if you look at the timestamp at the top, that's 1:26 a.m. So in the middle of the night, imagine you're home, asleep, and you hear someone banging on the door, you get up, you run out there, and your door's been kicked open. The reason that this is so dangerous, look at this comment from Sheriff Grady Judd, who's the sheriff in Polk County. He says, "I'd like to remind everyone that pranking or doing a TikTok challenge regarding kicking in doors, that people here in Florida tend to be armed. And they may respond accordingly when their door is kicked in." I would say that is probably going to be true in most counties within the Central Florida, Orlando, Tampa, Polk County area. And that is because of laws in Florida that allow you to use a gun to defend your home, the Stand Your Ground law. That was passed in 2005. And that law says that as a homeowner, you have a right not only to defend your person, but your home against a forcible felony. A forcible felony is kicking in someone's door. The very worst that could happen if someone is doing this prank is to be shot while doing it. There have been cases where homeowners have come out, have fired shots at teens. There was one death of a teen, not in Florida, but in another state. So this is a really serious prank to try to engage in. Like I said, it just kind of restarted back this year, and there were several arrests in the Hillsborough County area this past summer. So that's the other thing. The very worst that could happen is, a teen is shot. But what's happening now is they're being charged with armed robbery or attempted burglary and very serious felony charges. So if you hear of anyone, talking about wanting to do this, you really need to be smart and warn them this is very dangerous. And anytime you see these challenges, you really have to think, what is the underlying act that I would be doing? Is that a crime? Is it dangerous? Could someone get hurt? All right, number 2 is making threats of any kind. This is the written threats to kill or do bodily injury statute that's been on the books in Florida a long, long time. This is the statute that teenagers are arrested under when they say anything online about shooting, taking a gun to school, carrying out a shooting at school. This is the statute. It's a felony. So the difference between there's 2 types of crimes in Florida. Misdemeanors, which are lower crimes. You will normally pay a fine, do some community service for a misdemeanor, but for a more serious charge, it's called a felony. And that, a felony charge will always include some jail time. It will include some jail time, it will stay on your record, and then it's the type of thing that has to be disclosed on the job application, on an application to live in an apartment, on a college application. You will always have to disclose felonies. So here's a really good example. This was from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. So this is a middle schooler. You can see his name and his mugshot there. And he was arrested and charged under that written threats to kill or do bodily injury statute. Now, this is what he said. You can see what platform that's from. What do you guys recognize that as? Snapchat. Also, do you guys notice how it's a photo of the phone? That's not, so no, they didn't take a screenshot. Someone took another phone and took a photo of the phone. And it says, I'm gonna shoot up a school today. His friend says, and then he responds with an emoji and says, I'm only getting you though. To me, that sounds like a joke.
Yeah.
That sounds like a joke between 2 friends in a private Snapchat. He was still arrested and charged, you can see, 2 felonies. Written threats to kill or do bodily injury or unlawful use of a 2-way communication, unlawful use of a phone to commit a felony. Now, when you're arrested, even as a juvenile under this, it's a 21-day hold. So we've just had over in a rash of these types of threats over in Volusia County, and this is Sheriff Mike Chitwood. So on Friday, September 13th, he posted a video on his own TikTok, we're gonna watch in a second, saying that he had had it. I mean, he was fed up with the number of threats they were having, and he said, by Monday morning, I'm gonna arrest the next student that does this. So let's take a listen at his video.
Today is September 13th, and we're not having a good day in Volusia County. So far, 54 tips have come in through Fortified Florida talking about school shootings. All of them have been deemed bogus. We have 2 people in custody. We have another person who we're investigating and probably will take into custody. I can't say this clearer. You don't stand up on an airplane and yell hijack. You don't walk into a movie theater and yell fire. And you don't get online and post that you're going to shoot up a school. It's going to get you sent to jail. And now, for you parents out there, today's hoax cost around $21,000. There's 2 people in custody. We're coming after you. And starting Monday, your little cherub, we're going to start publishing his face and doing perp walks with him when we take him into custody. And then we're going to show pictures of you, the parents. Because you don't want to raise your kid, Sheriff Chitwood's going to raise them. What we're going to start doing Monday is, since parents, you don't want to raise your kids, I'm going to start raising them. Every time we make an arrest, your kid's photo is going to be put out there. And if I can do it, I'm going to perp walk your kid so that everybody can see what your kid's up to.
All right, sir, Care Pledge County, you're going to be walking over here to the gate over here, all right?
So as promised, that's the 5th grader, 11 years old, that he arrested that Monday. And unlike some states, Florida allows law enforcement and the media to release your name, your mugshot, your full name, your age, and any video of you being arrested if you're charged with a felony as a juvenile.
Put that foot down, I'll give you the other foot.
All right, come on in here, have a seat in the cell. We're going to gather up some paperwork and get things started for you. Do you have any questions? All right.
So that's the adult jail that he was taken to. So later that day, what would happen is he would be processed and he would be transferred to the juvenile detention facility. Now, when you're arrested as a juvenile under this law, it's a maximum or a minimum 21-day hold, which means he will spend 3 weeks in a juvenile detention facility before he's even processed, goes before a judge, and is released to his parents. He will then have a felony record, which means he will have to disclose that at any time in the future that he fills out anything where it says, have you ever been charged with a felony? So, you know, if they have no problem arresting a 5th grader, an 11-year-old, and putting him in hand and ankle shackles in the jail, they would have no problem arresting a 7th or 8th grader. This is an indication of how serious law enforcement takes this. You heard them say $21,000 spent investigating, you know, all the tips that had come in. So, and just like that Hillsborough example we looked at, you cannot make this mistake. You cannot joke with a friend, not your best friend on earth, in a private text message, in a private Snapchat. You cannot joke about it. Because you never know, it might be a parent that sees it, it might be a sibling that sees it, it might be the friend of a friend who sees it. They take one photo of it, and you will be arrested. All right, let's talk about cyberbullying. Of all of the mistakes that I see middle schoolers make, this is the most serious one. This is also the most common one that I see. I always like to start off by showing the Florida statutory definition of cyberbullying because it's very broad. Teasing. Yes, teasing someone can be cyberbullying. Social exclusion. That's no one talked to her. Everyone unfollowed her. You know, pretend that she doesn't exist. That's social exclusion. Of course, threats, intimidation, sexual, religious, or racial harassment, treated as cyberbullying. And then public humiliation, that's a big one. So one I see the most often, and it typically takes the form of a photo or video that is very embarrassing to someone, serves no legitimate purpose, and it's shared within a school community to embarrass someone. Very common. If cyberbullying is very serious, if it includes a threat of harm, or it's directed to someone and serves no legitimate purpose and directed to someone under 16, it can be bumped up to cyber stalking, and that's when it becomes a criminal matter. Now, surprisingly, even one instance of cyberbullying can become cyber stalking. So there's been a very interesting cyberbullying case that's been playing out. But let's talk about how broad it can be. So whenever someone threatens someone, spreads rumors about someone, spreads lies or impersonates someone, makes fun of someone's religion, dress, skin color, race, language, sexual orientation, accent, name, uses derogatory names or slurs, or passes around embarrassing photos, and it doesn't matter where that occurs, in a text thread, on a Discord server. I've seen it in YouTube comments, like in the comment section of someone's YouTube video. Private Snap groups, or in an anonymous account. If the only purpose is to make someone feel bad, it's harassment. And it will fall under that cyber stalking or cyber bullying statute. So this is a really interesting case that has been occurring. Now this came out in October of 2020. It's when this story first broke. And it involved this young man, Mitchell Miller, and a mistake he made in 8th grade. So when Mitchell Miller was in 8th grade, he was a really talented hockey player. I think he was from Ohio. But when he was in 8th grade, he was also kind of a bully at school. He was a big kid, bigger than all the other kids. And he had this one victim that he picked on. And he would bully this kid, like traditional bullying, like pick on him, threaten him, that sort of thing. But one day he decided to sort of, amp it up a little bit. So here's what he did. He took a lollipop, he went in the boys' bathroom, and he went into the urinal, and he rubbed that lollipop in the urinal, and he took a video of it. And then he came out, and he handed it to the victim, and he took a video of the victim eating the lollipop. And then he put those two together, and for maximum impact, he shared that with his entire middle school. It was very upsetting to the victim's family, and he had chosen his victim very carefully. He made sure that he chose a really vulnerable victim. It was a student of color that he had also harassed, like with racial slurs and things. And he was also a special education student at the school. He didn't have any social media, didn't know what was happening. He was just excited that Mitchell Miller was being nice to him for once. So Mitchell Miller was charged with cyberbullying by his school. He served a suspension, and he was also charged with cyber stalking under Ohio statute. It was very similar to Florida's cyber stalking statute. So he actually had a criminal matter against him as an 8th grader. So flash forward, he goes on to become an incredible hockey player. He gets a scholarship offer from the University of North Dakota. He joins their hockey team. And in his freshman season of hockey, he goes in the 2nd round of the NHL draft at age 18. That's newsworthy. So here he has achieved everything he has worked so hard for, right? A professional sports opportunity. And when that happens, sports writers are interested. Who is this 18-year-old phenom? Where did he come from? What's his story? So they start Googling him. And then his cyber stalking charge from 8th grade comes up. And the first thing that happened, the NHL Coyotes relinquish their draft rights. We'll pass. They don't want him. And then the North Dakota hockey team says he's no longer a member of our team. And then under intense pressure from the university, he withdraws from the University of North Dakota. It's no longer a welcome place to him. He plays in some Canadian leagues, some European leagues. And then in November of 2022, the story breaks again when he gets signed by the Bruins. Look at the quote from the Bruins captain, Patrice Bergeron. "We expect guys who wear this jersey to be high character and people with integrity and respect. The team refused to take the ice with him because of a mistake he made in 8th grade. The NHL hockey commissioner says the entire league is off limits to this guy. That speaks to the power of cyberbullying. Why I maintain it is the biggest mistake you can make, because it follows you. When you cyberbully someone else, it says something about you. It suggests a character flaw. Like it makes you feel so good to make somebody else feel so bad. People don't want you on their team. They don't want you to represent their brand, to take the ice with you, to be on the same team as you. Nobody will touch this guy. It speaks to the power of cyberbullying. All right, violating your social media policy. Corbett Prep has a specific social media policy. It's very similar to the same one that every private school has, but it has some very specific requirements. Your code of conduct applies to your online communication with your classmates, even off campus. So you are bound by that code of conduct 24/7. Whether you're on campus interacting with your classmates or whether you're at home in the privacy of your bedroom with just you and your phone. You're still held to that standard. You may not use the name or logo to create any accounts, like gossip accounts, shade accounts, tea accounts, anything like that, and then accounts are fair game in disciplinary investigations. There's no First Amendment right in the private school. There's a limited First Amendment right in public school, but not in a private school. And there's no Fourth Amendment protection. The Fourth Amendment protects you from unreasonable search and seizure. You may have heard that term. But again, that's only from police or government. It doesn't apply to private actors. So a private school says, hey, can you open up your Snapchat? We would need to see your Instagram account. That's fair game. So remember to abide by your social media policy. Number 5 is racially insensitive or racist posts or messages. This one's really dangerous because much like cyberbullying, it tends to follow people. You know, once you reveal yourself that you're okay with racist language, or once you reveal yourself that you think, you know, slavery or swastikas are funny, it's hard to shake that. People will remember that for a long time. Oh, I went to high school with her. Yeah, she used the N-word all the time. It happens to influencers all the time. All the time. So we had an interesting case involving some middle schoolers that played out this year. So let's take a listen to this.
6 middle school students have been charged in a racial online bullying incident in Massachusetts. The students from Southwick Regional School allegedly held, get this, an online mock slave auction where white students could bid on their black classmates. According to the DA, the students participated in hateful, racist conduct on social media platform Snapchat. Several of those students were suspended, including 2 for 25 days, 1 for 45 days, while 6 of the students were charged with threats to commit a crime. Now, CNN reached out to the Southwick Regional School and Southwick Toland Granville School District for statements, but we have not heard back yet. But joining me now is the mother of one of the victims. How did she even learn? How did you learn about this auction?
I received a phone call from the school a couple hours after she entered the school. She woke up the morning of February 9th, the day after the chat happened, and she woke up really hysterical, crying, you know, in this trauma-like behavior, and I couldn't understand what was going on. At that point, she did not have the full in-depth of what happened until she got to school, when one of her friends told her what they heard about it. And at that point, she quickly went to the assistant principal office and shared what she was told, and that's when they started looking into the matter, and I got a phone call.
Sorry, that's loud. So you heard a couple things here. They were charged with cyberbullying, a 25-day suspension, a 45-day suspension, and 6 of them were charged criminally under one of those cyber stalking statutes, very similar to what Florida has in Massachusetts. You heard her talking about how her daughter, it was trauma-like for her daughter to experience people talking about her and bidding on her in a mock slave auction. This behavior is devastating to a school. You know, you want to leave Corbett Prep. Many of you will apply to private high schools. You want them to look at the Corbett Prep name and say, oh, that's a Corbett Prep student. You want them to hold the school's reputation in high esteem. This is how you destroy that. And you are all in this together. Like, it only takes one person in this room to start something like that online, and you're taking everybody down with you. There are some things you will never make funny. Slavery would be one of them. Holocaust, swastikas. It's never going to be funny. And when you try, it just makes you look uneducated. When you are in those text threads, group Snapchats, and that conversation starts, or someone starts with this, you have an opportunity to be a bystander or an upstander. You can be a bystander and you can watch it happen. That's the easy road. Or you can be the upstander and you can say, this is not okay. I'm not okay with this. Stop it. This is not who we are. Being that person, having the courage to do that, especially when that chat involves an athletic team, a club you're involved in, an organization, a grade level, can completely change the tide. There's risky behavior that you can engage in online, and there's probably never been a time that it's riskier than now. Oversharing, revealing too much personal information, you know, protecting your home address, your date of birth, things like that, where people could track you or learn more about your identity. Building relationships with people you don't know online. How many of you get messages from strangers on your social platforms or through gaming sites? Yeah, just about everybody. It's very common because predators know that if they want to talk to young people, where are they going to find them? Online. Sharing nude or suggestive images or videos. Never been a more dangerous time. That's a pretty multi-layered problem. Number one, it violates most school handbooks to ask someone for a nude image. Again, it's treated exactly how it's treated at the college level and in the workplace, as sexual harassment. If you are asking someone, badgering someone into giving you a nude image, it's going to be treated as cyberbullying under that sexual harassment definition that we looked at. Releasing a nude image, the biggest problem with that is if you release that to someone you trust, you know, and then something happens in that relationship, that trust can be broken. And once someone violates that trust and gives that image to someone else, and they give it to someone else, it's a very small chance you'll ever get it back. So that's a really risky thing to do. And taking a nude image of someone under 18 or having it on your phone or sharing it with someone else probably violates about 3 different Florida statutes. So it is a huge mistake. Let's talk about talking to strangers online. When you were younger, I'm sure your parents talked to you about stranger danger. I know I talked to my kids about it. I had a whole video for them to watch. And at the time, the strangers were at the mall or in the toy aisle at Target or at the park. But today, strangers don't need to go to Target or Walmart to find young people. They go to gaming sites. They go to Roblox. They go to Minecraft. They go to Discord. Because they know that is the easiest place to engage with young people. Prime age for victims, 11 to 15. That's according to law enforcement. So we had an actual abduction in Orlando a few years ago of Alice Johnson, who was age 13. Alice had made a friend online. Now this was not a quick friendship. This was like a detailed friend. This went on for months. Like they would meet after school. They would play on Minecraft. They would also play on Roblox. You know, it was a relationship. Alice knew her as her 13-year-old friend. It was another girl. She felt like this was safe. And then one day the 13-year-old friend said, oh, guess what? I'm coming to Orlando with my family. We're going to Disney World. Of course, right? Everybody does that at some point. So Alice was like, oh, that's great. And the 13-year-old friend said, you know, I know that, we should try to meet up. And I know you can't give me your home address because that wouldn't be safe. But like, is there a park near your house where we could meet like after school? Like I'll have my mom bring me and, you can come. And Alice was like, yeah, there is. There's a park down the street. So Alice gives her the name of this park. And after school one day, Alice goes to meet up with her 13-year-old friend. But it was not a 13-year-old friend. Would you like to see a photo of the person that Alice met? So the 13-year-old friend was actually a 24-year-old man from Chicago that had driven all night to Orlando. And he had an extensive criminal record. Now, Alice was kidnapped, she was recovered, returned to her family, and Alice was fine, and the perpetrator was arrested. This is what you have to think about if you are building a friendship, even if it's a gaming friendship with someone online that you don't actually know in real life. You know how easy it is to get a photo. All you have to do is Google 13-year-old girl, and you screenshot that photo, and then you can pretend to be that person. That's what predators love about the internet. That's what they love about Roblox and Minecraft and Discord and every other site where they can chat with you. You have to be street smart. You are in the prime age for victims. If you have siblings, you need to teach them to be street smart. Okay? It's very, very important. Look out for red flag behaviors. If you have an adult who is following your accounts and they're commenting and liking every photo, unless you know that adult in real life, that's a red flag. Now, if this is your best friend's mom, that's not what I mean, but if it's an adult that you don't actually know. Anyone who asks you to keep the friendship secret, there's a reason. There's a reason they don't want you to tell your parents or another trusted adult in your life about that relationship. And it's not a good reason. Anyone who asks you to private message, come to my private server, red flag. Why does it need to be a private server? Why do they want to get you alone? Anyone who tries to bring up sexual content, anyone who starts asking you for photos, the first photos they ask you for might be normal photos, but that can very quickly change. And anyone who says, don't tell your parents, don't tell your friends, those are red flag behaviors. What do you do in that situation? Telling an adult is not snitching. Even if you know it's happening to your friend, telling a trusted adult could save a life. Could save someone from being kidnapped, like that young girl in Orlando. Being the upstander, saying stop, saying no, saying that's not okay. Lend support. If you know that you have a friend in that situation, encourage them to speak up and say something, to tell a trusted adult, to disengage. Signing off. If you know that you're on an application where stuff like that is happening, sign off. And listen to your gut. You guys have instincts. Listen to them. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not. All right, damaging your college admissions potential. Where's the 8th graders? 8th grade? Starting next year, what happens for you matters. It's reportable. And some colleges will ask for what happens in 8th grade. So there was big college admissions news several years ago. This is the disciplinary question on the Common App. So when you apply to college, you will fill out the Common App, and that goes to every school that you apply to. And this was a discipline question that says, have you ever been found responsible for a disciplinary violation at any school from 9th grade on? And it says whether it resulted in probation, suspension, removal, dismissal, or expulsion. So that was the question. And Common App removed that. And I think most schools and most college advisors were happy about that because discipline is given out unevenly, you know? Some areas of the country, students get disciplined more often than others. Some races get disciplined more often than others. So everybody thought this was a good thing. They removed it. And what happened? Every single school just created their own disciplinary question and put it on their specific section of their application. So here's Vanderbilt, and it is saying, have you ever been convicted of a crime? Not felony, any crime. Misdemeanor or felony. Do you have criminal charges pending against you? Have you ever been the subject of a restraining order? Restraining order is very common in cyberbullying or bullying situations, where a family might seek a protective order to keep you away from their student. University of Florida says, are you currently or have you ever been charged with disciplinary action, scholastic, or any other misconduct at any educational institution? They don't even limit it to 9th grade and up. You want to be able to answer these questions, no. Because I can tell you, I have a friend whose son is going through this. You will not get into one of our Florida large universities if you answer that question yes and have to explain it. Will not happen. Damaging your athletic recruiting. Anybody play a sport? Anybody hope to play at the college level? Okay, then this is for you. If you want to play a sport at the college level, you cannot decide to build a squeaky clean, marketable social media in 11th grade. You need to be starting now. There is nobody that this information is more important for. So this is Southern Methodist University Director of Recruiting. He's their head recruiting coach, Scott Nady, and he was at the U.S. Army Combine, which is held every year for high school football players. So they're invited, and these are the best of the best. To be invited to the U.S. Army Combine, it's like a combine, like an NFL combine experience, but for high school players. So you have to be the cream of the crop. And he is talking to them, and this was videoed in February 2024, so let's take a listen.
Your social media can ruin your recruiting before you start.
So the question is, how does social media impact your recruiting? I'm telling you this, when we get interested in a young man, the first thing we do is pull up his social media. The first thing we do is pull up his social media. And if he's cussing on social media, if he's showing alcohol, guns, disrespecting women, anything that we don't want to bring home to our mothers as grown men, do we put a red line to the name and we move on that fast? You are done. We don't look at your film. We don't look at your grades. We don't go back, right? So if some of you guys have stuff on your social media you think that your friends will think is funny, some of you guys have stuff on social media you think that people think you look tough. People think that you look hard. Understand this. Business people with business opportunities are looking at your social media as well.
So we had a really good example of this play out last year. And it involved this young man, Marcus Stokes. Four-star quarterback recruit from Nice High School. His dream school was University of Florida. Now, the fact that he was coming out of Nice High School is relevant because that's the same high school that produced Tim Tebow. So his junior year, he verbally commits to the University of Florida. And this is U.S. announcement when he committed. They were excited to get Marcus Stokes. A four-star quarterback, homegrown right here in Florida, Tim Tebow's high school. And then about 3 months after that, after football practice one day, Marcus Stokes is by himself in his truck, listening to some music, takes out his phone, and he takes about a 6 to 7 second Snapchat of him singing the lyrics to a song that was playing in his truck. A rap song that included the N-word. And he sang it on the Snapchat to his close friends. And someone sent that video to the University of Florida, and they revoked that scholarship offer on the basis of that 6 to 7 second Snapchat video. He had to start his recruiting process all over. A year later, he did finally land at a D2 school. I think the University of West Florida, Pensacola. But his D2 scholarship dreams were over because of a 6 second video. That speaks to the power of that word. I think teens sometimes get lulled into thinking that people are cool with that word because they hear celebrities use it, they hear musical artists use it, they hear maybe their friends use it, and they're like, oh, yeah, my friends are cool with that word, like it's not a big deal. But the world at large is not cool with that word. And when it comes down to, are we going to hand you one of our coveted, limited scholarship spots? UF said, nope. To his credit, he took ownership, he apologized, he acknowledged it was an offensive word, that maybe he didn't understand and appreciate the full power of the word. But that dream was over for him. Build a brand you are proud of and start when you are young. It is not just athletes. If you have big dreams, you want to go to a top 20 school, and I would include the University of Florida in that. You want to go to an Ivy League school, a military academy, which requires a congressional appointment. Honors and scholars programs, anything that you have to audition for, a musical theater program, a musical performance program, internship programs, athletic recruiting. You need to be using your social media to build a brand and amplify your accomplishments. There was a great example of this during COVID. This young man, 17-year-old student from Harlem Prep, he created Google Classrooms with math and like calculus and science to help students that were having to learn from home. So he made these classrooms. He was also doing SAT prep. So he's using what he's passionate about. You know, he was a strong academic student, and he used that to build a brand online as the TikTok tutor. No surprise, he was able to translate that into a full ride at Dartmouth, a great school. This is an example of using social media for good. Using social media to say, I am a hardworking student who cares about my community, who cares about the world. I'm passionate about something. I care about something bigger than myself. That's what every single college is looking for. Somebody to come in and make their college campus better, to make their team better, to make their program better. And you have the ability to build that using your social media. That's using social media for good. Thank you guys so much for listening. You're a great audience. We do have time for a few questions. If anybody wants to ask a question. I know I saw a couple hands up. See one in the very back right there.
Hello, my name is Lennon. I'm in 6th grade and I have a question. So about like the the person with the 6-second song that he sent to the Snapchat, like, so one of his friends told told UF about it, and then he got expelled, or?
So we're not sure, but typically, there's been a lot of those cases. There was a valedictorian who had graduated from a school, not in Hillsborough, but in an adjacent county, and she had posted something racially insensitive on Instagram, and somebody took a screenshot of it and sent it to UF, and they revoked her admission. In his case, they just revoked his scholarship offer from the athletic department. But, when you lose the scholarship offer, there's no way UF's going to admit you. So, that's the point. Like, you guys know, friendships, can shift throughout high school. And maybe somebody, in the example of the high school valedictorian, it was like 3 years old. Like, somebody had screenshot that and sat on it. But it could be a friend of a friend, or it could be a parent. It could be another athlete who was jealous and saw it and was like, that's not fair for him to get this spot. He doesn't deserve it. So we never know why people take those actions. It's kind of the world we live in. It's the dreaded screenshot. Somebody can take a screenshot of something you say, and then they're like, I'm just gonna sit on this until something good happens. And then when something good happens for you, then they're like, yeah, I don't think he or she deserves that. So I'm gonna show this to the school. And that's usually how it happens. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Harrison. I'm 10 years old, and you were talking about how there's been many things about like Roblox being really dangerous. This is more than a comment, more than a question.
Okay.
But there was a person, he was like 20 to 30 years old. He got a life sentence for doing some weird stuff on Roblox.
Yeah. There have been, that's a really good point. There have been a lot of arrests of really dangerous people who are using Roblox to, meet and attempt to do, really bad things with young people. So it's really smart to be conscious of that.
How long was the girl missing for? Oh, my name is Austin, and I'm in 8th grade. How long was the girl missing for, the one that got kidnapped?
2 days.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So my name is Mallory. I'm also in 8th grade, and I wanted to know, so how did making someone with like things like autism or ADHD like affect you? I've had a few times where I've seen people who are make fun of people like that, and I wanted to know what are like the consequences? Do you know any stories where like things like bad things happen to people?
Yeah, so it's a lot, it's basically cyberbullying, making fun of someone's medical condition, disability, learning disability, all those things. It's the same thing as making fun of someone's race. So if you're making fun of something that someone can't change about themselves, then that's when it becomes a problem, and schools will usually act on it. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Veronica. I'm in 6th grade. And in most games on it, I just have a question, because you said that it's like really easy to like track locations and whatever. But on most games I go to, there's like hashtags for anything like they think that's bad, even if it's not. Like some things they just like hashtag everything.
Yeah, so what I said was you should be careful giving away any personal information about you, like your address, or even like posting a picture of yourself in your school shirt. Like if you post a picture of you wearing corporate prep uniform, that's saying to people, this is where you can find me every day from 7:30 to 3. So just information like that, like be a little bit protective about what you share online. Yes?
Hi, I'm CJ. I'm in 7th grade. And what if you just like don't use social media at all?
You would be like my son. So that is okay, especially the age that you are now. The only thing that I would say is when you need to change that is if you decide to pursue being a recruited athlete, or you're after, one of those things that we looked at up there, top 20 programs, Ivy League, something like that. Then you really need to maybe showcase yourself so you have kind of that living, breathing resume. But otherwise, it's okay to choose, especially while you're young, to not be on social media.
My name is Sophia De Jesus. I'm in 8th grade. And my question is, if you're a victim of cyberbullying or cyberstalking, can it badly affect your resume?
Not if you're a victim. So if you're a victim, the important thing is to tell someone, because your school can't do anything about it until they know about it. So you should tell your parents or your school or a teacher you trust or a coach so that somebody can, help protect you. Good question.
I'm Capri and I'm in 6th grade, and I was wondering, if you're in a group chat with people doing something bad and you're not a part of it, what should you do?
Good question. I know that sometimes it's hard to get out of a group chat, that it keeps coming back and you can leave and then you get added back and all of that. So number one, you should leave. But I really believe that before you leave, you should say, I'm not okay with this. Stop. You guys, this is wrong. Because then you are saying on the record, I don't support this. And I've seen situations where, there were 200 or 300 kids and some of them were liking comments or, thumbs up to a comment, and then they would leave. And those people still got in trouble because they were supporting it, they were egging it on. So you really have to be that upstander and say, I would say out loud, this is not okay.
Hi, my name is Grayson, and I'm in 5th grade. And sometimes, if you on Roblox, people say, "Oh, you want free money? Join my game and friend me." And then it'll say "Oh, type in your email and password."
Right. You know not to do that, right? Yeah. So that's what's so dangerous about Roblox is all the user-generated content. So when someone invites you to come in a room, you don't want to go in that room. And of course, you would never want to give out your email or password or any personal information.
Hi, my name is Cece and I'm in 6th grade, and I have a question about being a victim of cyberbullying, and you tell someone, but they do nothing about it.
Then tell someone else. Sometimes you might tell a friend, or maybe it's even, someone, an adult in your life, and they might give you bad advice, which is, oh, just ignore it. Just if you ignore it, it'll go away. But that just means you need to tell someone else. Tell someone at school, you tell a teacher you trust, and then that's when people in your life can intervene and try to stop it.
Hi, my name is Logan Martinez-Ek. I'm in 8th grade, and my question is, say your phone is on D&D, and then people are cyberbullying someone on a group chat, but you don't see that it's happening, and you're just in the group chat. Say someone does something so bad that it's a crime, would you be guilty by association?
No, not necessarily. I mean, schools and law enforcement are smart. They'll look and see. If you're just in the group chat and, you're not legally obligated to speak up and say something. I would argue you're morally obligated to speak up and say something. But if you try to leave the group chat or you didn't see it happening, you're not going to be charged with a crime.
So in the first video, my name's Kaya, and I'm in 6th grade, and the guy in the first video was showing the picture of the kid and saying, if you can't handle your kid, I'll handle him for you.
Yeah.
Can he get, fined for showing a minor's picture without parent supervision or, parent consent?
No. So that was Sheriff Mike Chitwood, and there is a specific Florida statute that allows law enforcement to show your picture if you're a minor when you commit a crime. That would be a felony if you were an adult. So the newspaper can do it too. They can run your picture, news stations, and they all did run that video, and law enforcement can do that.
My name is Kirti and I'm in 7th grade. I was just wondering, if you do something like cyberbullying, but no one takes a screenshot, can those places still see it? Because I know digital footprint, everything's there forever. So.
Yeah, you never know. It also could be that someone says hey, I knew them, and I went to middle school or high school with them, and they're a bully, and you should, and if that tipped off a school or say so my daughter goes to school on a big scholarship. It's an independent, it's not associated with the school, it's an independent scholarship. And the background check that they did on her was intense. 3 times they called the dean of students at her school, who was in charge of discipline, and they would say has she ever done anything? Could you imagine her doing anything to embarrass us? Like, has she ever been in trouble for anything? Like, just tell us, like, what's her disciplinary history? And then they would call someone else at the head of school, the principal, and ask the same things. So it just depends on, if you are applying for something that's very competitive, then yeah, they're going to do a deeper dive into you.
My name is Camden, and I was wondering if everybody, so if you were saying with that guy in the car who did like that 7-second video, and somebody did have it, took a picture of that and didn't do it until something really important happened in their life, would that be considered blackmail if they figured it out?
No, to be blackmailed, they would have to say, if you don't give me $10,000, I'm going to send this to the University of Florida. Then it might be blackmail, but if they just send it because they're like, hey, feel like you should know who you're recruiting, who you're giving a jersey to, then that's not illegal.
How do high school, hi, I'm Joy, I'm in 7th grade, and how do high schools go into your personal messages with your friends and stuff?
So believe it or not, your school administrators are too busy to try to search the internet, looking for information about you. That's not typically how discipline happens. Discipline usually happens at the school level, again, when someone takes a screenshot, or they come forward and they're like, I've seen this, hey, he posted something on Snapchat last night that was really offensive and it used the N-word. The Snapchat's gone, I didn't take a screenshot of it, but all 3 of us saw it. That's enough. That's enough.
My name is Kingston, and I was wondering if, say if you said, the N-word, but you were black, would that still be, the same problem?
Okay, this is a very good question. So, here's what I would say about that. If you are black, then that's a conversation to have with your family. Because you are right, you will hear black artists use it, even black activists use it. And there's kind of 2 schools of thought on that. There's one thought, I have a really good friend of mine who's black, and he's like, yeah, well, I get to say it because I own that word. I own it, so I get to use it. And so some families, they look at it that way. And if that's the way your family looks at it, then that's between you and your family. At school, however, there are different rules. The standard's set higher. And so most schools will say, even if it's okay for you to use that with your family, you can't use it at school. Because then it creates problems. And what happens is then your white friends hear you use it and they're like, oh, Kingston, he's cool with that. And you might not be, right? Because it depends on how it's used and the context. I've seen kids get in trouble in a text thread where they're typing lyrics, and then the white kid in the group texts the N-word, and then all of the black kids in the group are like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? And they're like, no, I thought it was cool. So it's dangerous to use it at school. I will say that in addition to that, the NAACP, which is a national organization that advocates for and promotes the rights of black Americans, actually held a funeral for the N-word. I mean, with a casket and everything. And they said, our position, we don't want anyone to use this word. So I also know black families that say, yeah, we're not perpetrating this word. We agree with the NAACP. We want that word to be dead. We don't want it to be in anybody's vernacular. So that can be a difficult decision, but I think that's one that every family of color has to make for themselves. Really good question.
My name's Amelia. I'm in 7th grade. I was a part of a group chat where people were saying stuff that I wasn't comfortable with. I left the group chat and deleted the conversation. Although I didn't say anything in it, would that affect me in any way?
No, again, you're not, if you feel uncomfortable and you want to leave and delete the group chat, that's understandable, and you removed yourself from it, so that's the important part. I think it's more dangerous to stay in it and say nothing. So, good question.
Hi, my name is Justin. Is Fortnite a bad website to put on?
It can be. There are also cybersecurity experts who would say Fortnite can be very dangerous if you are gaming, playing with, and chatting with people that you don't know. So let's say you do, you play a Fortnite mission, and then somebody says hey, come join my private server. That's when you should see one of those red flags, and you should be like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Hi, my name is Diana. I'm in 7th grade, and up there you were talking about how for anything in your future, if you wanted to audition for something, what would you say is the best way to use social media to your advantage for that?
So really good question. So I know a lot of artists, because my daughter's an artist, and so if you are an artist, whether you're a singer, you paint, you play a musical instrument, you do theater, that should be your online portfolio. So you should be using social media to post performance videos, post pictures of your art, also, accomplishments at school, community service that you do, and yes, sure, hanging out with your friends and your family, but you just have to keep it squeaky clean. And that might be a reason to have a public profile that's very curated instead of a private profile, so that schools, even camps that you audition for, I know my daughter, she's a filmmaker, she went to tons of film camps, and so she would post herself working on set, helping another filmmaker on their set to show, look, I'm a team player, I'm practicing my art, I'm passionate about this. But she was really careful what she posted on that page.
Hi, my name is Jake, and I saw that you guys, you said that teasing, that was cyberbullying. Well, I saw that, on Instagram, that somebody was making fun of, a Tesla Cybertruck. would they be teasing Elon Musk?
I think he's take it. So so let me say this, not all teasing is going to be cyberbullying. So if you look in your student handbook, there'll be a definition of when it becomes cyberbullying. And it's when it's repeated, when it's intended to, cause someone distress, and typically where there's some imbalance of power, okay? So two friends teasing each other where it's kind of even-handed might not be cyberbullying, but an 8th grader picking on a 5th grader and making that 5th grader very upset and cry by teasing might be cyberbullying. So in your example, Elon Musk, really hard because there's not that balance, that imbalance of power. He's more powerful than the person teasing about how unattractive his trucks are.
Hello, my name is Carter, and I'm in 6th grade. What can we do to stop cyberbullying?
So being that upstander, I think, is one of the things. I think when you guys stick together, and when you tell the person that is engaging in the cyberbullying, when you all get together and say, we're not okay with that, like at CDS, we're not going to allow that. We're not going to allow it in our friend group, or I'm not going to allow it on my team. Especially if you are in an organization or a sports team, if you're the person who has the courage to speak up, and I would hope that aligns with a title like captain or president, but it doesn't have to, it doesn't always, unfortunately, but you don't have to have a title to be a leader in your organization. And speaking up is how you demonstrate leadership.
I'm Mika, and I'm in 6th grade. My question is, on your college, where you try to get in, and it says, have you committed a crime? And you have, and you put no. Could they find that out that you're lying?
They do sometimes, and I just had a situation where that happened. So what happened was, it was 4 girls, and they were all charged with cyber stalking, and they all applied to college, and 3 of them put yes, and 1 of them put no. And the 3 that put yes found out that the 1 put no, so they called her college and said she lied.
If you have your hands up, you guys can go ahead and put them down for now, because we're going to wrap up questions, and we have a bunch of people who are still going to share questions. Pat, you want to go?
I'm Avia, and I'm in 6th grade, and my question is, the sheriff showed weapons and stuff, and what if he just used that because he was fed up with people with cyberbullying, but they didn't really,
Yeah, it's a good question. That is kind of what happened. So when you saw in that video that the sheriff posted, all that table of weapons, all of those guns were fake. Those were all airsoft or replica weapons. The knives and the swords and things, those were real. So what he had done is he had made a video that he shared with a bunch of people at his school of him showing the weapons. He didn't say these are fake weapons. He was just showing the weapons, pretending they were real. And he had a hit list of people that he was fed up with, and he was going to go to school and shoot them. So even if you are being bullied, that does not excuse and does not allow you to threaten other people. The way that you handle that is what we've talked about, speaking up and telling someone. But making a video and saying, hey, I'm picked on and I've been bullied, and here are these weapons and these are the people I'm going after, you're still going to get arrested because that's still a crime. Good question.
Hi, I'm Pat. I'm in 8th grade. And my question is, at what point does it become cyberbullying or cyberstalking? How do they define that? Because like, if your intention is not to do that, then how do they go about just the process?
So there is a definition. If you look in your student handbook, there'll be a definition of when it becomes cyberbullying. But it's typically where it's repeated, it serves no legitimate purpose, it's distressing to the other person, and there's that imbalance of power.
My name is Grayson, and I'm in 7th grade. So what if you don't know what like the N-word means, and someone like tells you to say it online, and then you do say it? Would that still hold like record?
Yeah, and that's sometimes an excuse that students will use, like, oh, I didn't really understand what it meant, or, you know, I didn't know that. I mean, if you don't know what a word means, you definitely should not be using it online. And I will say, to your point, a lot of people that use the N-word don't know the history of the N-word. They don't. So it's sort of, you know, they think that they don't really understand the impact of it. So anytime anybody is saying, and I know that there were some TikTok trends, it was a couple years ago, like where you would get somebody to say something and then you would put a video together where they were really answering a different question. But if someone says like, hey, will you say, you know, ask questions, why? No, I don't want to be videoed. Like, you have to be kind of a little bit protective of that stuff these days. Good question.
Hi, my name is Olivia, and I'm in 6th grade. And I have a question regarding the college applications where it says, has someone had a restraining order against you? What if they had no restraining order against you, but you didn't do anything?
Well, a restraining order is issued by a court. So before they issue a restraining order, they have an evidentiary hearing where they hear from witnesses, they look at text messages, and they make sure that there's enough evidence to support issuing that restraining order. So it wouldn't be issued unless there was some basis for it.
All right. Thank you guys for your questions.
Great questions. You're all so well spoken. Thank you so much.
We are, what time is it right now? About 2:35? 2:38. Okay. So we are going to dismiss in the opposite direction because I think we have some 8th graders. I'm going to keep them here for just a second, just in case you guys have a couple other questions. But why don't we go ahead and can we have one huge round of applause for Sweaty Gym. So will you please have the 5th grade class go ahead and you guys can head out. You know, would you mind actually going out that door and around, and then we can have 6th graders can go ahead, 6th graders go ahead and stand up. You guys can go out this door. And teachers, why don't we let everybody pack up and head to dismissal. Okay, to take a couple more. The 8th graders. Let's flip my water. Seventh graders, you guys can please stand and you can follow the 8th graders out, or the 6th graders out. Now 8th graders. Bum bada bum bum.
So it wasn't treasure in the secretary.
Actually, we're probably could do
Okay, will you let me know tomorrow?
Bum bada bum bum.
So she had a good question. Let's just say 8th grade, well, 8th grade. So she said, like, I know a school can go through your social media, but like, can they look at your search history? So here's the thing. If you look at your handbook, and again, this is true of every private school, not Carter Prep, there's no privacy in an electronic device that you bring on this campus. Just like one day when you are in a workplace, you know, it'll probably say, like, if your laptop that they give you, the phone that they give you that's owned by the company, there's no expectation of privacy in that. So yes, if there were a disciplinary investigation and allegedly, you know, let's say you made a threat or you threatened someone, if they said, you know, can we have your phone and look at your phone, they can look through your text messages, your social media, your emails, any email they have here, they can look through your search history, and if you're Googling, like, best way to cyberbully someone, you know, that might be relevant. So yeah, it would be fair game. I will tell you, though, that in the vast majority of school investigations, they don't need to look at your phone because they already have printouts of what's been sent to them by a parent, another student, you know, somebody who heard about it, like somebody has taken screenshots and sent it to the school. So I can't remember the last time that one of my clients had to go through a student's phone.
There were 3, I know 1, 2, 3. You guys had your hands up during the presentation.
Okay, so let's say like the bully's bullying you and then you like bully them back or like you hit them. Like,
so anytime it gets physical, yes. I had a fight break out at one of the schools I represent recently, and it was 2 boys, and one of them spoke Spanish and one of them spoke Portuguese. And one of them said a word in Portuguese that is a slur in Spanish, but in Portuguese he thinks it's not. And they were like, it was a brawl like in the boys' bathroom. So they broke it up and they were like, what? And they explained what happened. And they were like, okay, we get it, but like you guys can't fight. So they got the same punishment. I think they both got like a 1-day suspension because you can't fight at school. But they weren't charged with like serious cyberbullying because it was a misunderstanding between 2 friends. So here's the thing, like I want to reassure you guys, schools don't just make these decisions in a vacuum. Like they look at all the nuances of it, you know, and like, you know, asking questions about like, well, what if it's just teasing? When is teasing? Like they're smart. The last thing they want to do is kick somebody out. So they're going to look at all the factors involved and, you know, is this mutual? How did it start? Why did it start? You know, was she upset with him because he called her the N-word? Well, that's different, right? Like there would be an explanation for that misunderstanding between friends. So it doesn't really, I promise you, like schools take all those things into consideration.
Sade.
I have 2 questions. Okay. So one of my questions was earlier in the presentation, you were talking about how schools can go through your phones. What if I refuse to do that? Like, what's the punishment? Or like, what can happen?
So if you refused to participate, then they would just make the disciplinary decision on the basis that you did not participate. So sometimes that's an expulsion, like if you refuse to go through the process, like, I don't know if you guys have this here, but some schools have like a disciplinary committee that reviews those, and like you have an opportunity to go before the disciplinary committee and present your own explanation of like, well, look at the screenshot that he sent me, you know, that sort of thing. But if you refused all that, then they would just have to go on the word of other people. And so, you know, it might mean that you're expelled, or there might be some punishment in the handbook for failing to participate.
And my other question was, so like back in 6th grade, something happened like with social media, and like I got in trouble for it. Would that be on my record?
Probably not. So when you're really young, you have the benefit of saying, I was young and I was just a child, and now I'm older and I've grown and I've learned from that. And I've honestly seen people in high school explain away stuff that happened maybe like 8th and 9th grade and it not impact. It's a problem when it happens in like 11th or 12th grade. Then it's hard to explain. You can't say like, well, I've grown since last month when that happened. So I have a friend whose son went through that. You know, he got in trouble his senior year after his college applications were pending. He had to contact all those colleges and say, oh, I actually was charged with a crime. And now then he had to explain it all. So yeah, probably not in 6th grade. So you just want to make sure that you don't repeat any of those mistakes in high school, where it's really important.
Okay.
Can I ask mine then?
You've already asked one. I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance. 1, 2, and then we have to let you guys go.
So if like you're in a group chat and there's like things that are happening in a group chat and you say like stop, like we shouldn't be doing this, and then people start saying like it's not a big deal, like don't snitch and stuff, what are you supposed to say back? Because like
At that point, you said stop, I would leave the group chat.
So, the two friends that or fought, if like let's say that someone cyberbullied another person and then like they physically got in a fight or something, like they threatened another person like something physically, would they also be charged for cyberbullying or cyber stalking, or and then be charged with battery too? Would that happen? And would that all be like? Would that make it a lot worse?
So I have another case pending with a school in South Florida, and what happened was it was a girl and a boy, and they were kind of bickering back and picking on each other. Like it was kind of mutual, like they were both involved in it. But one day she decided she had it. She walked into the cafeteria, walked up to him. He didn't have an opportunity to say anything. She took her book bag and slammed him in the face. Broke his nose, fractured a tooth, or like and damaged the nerve above the tooth. So she was expelled. He had to like have surgery. Now she's being charged criminally with battery and cyberstalking. So basically exactly your scenario. Even though her explanation was, well, he was picking on me first. But again, in that situation, the police look at it as the school had done, and it was kind of mutual, like they were both kind of involved in it. But, that doesn't justify her breaking his nose. Like you have to exercise enough self-control. Like, can he speak up? Can he report it? Can he get her in trouble? Can she report him? All that, yes. But she can't assault him and then say, well, he picked on me first.
Thank you guys for being a great audience. If you have a burning question, you may stay. Otherwise, you guys need to get to this.
Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. Have a great year.
I really need to hear
I would say probably
I don't unless you have something that like not even not from here.